Hare Krishna to all devotees. Welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today I am going to share about Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 12th chapter, text 30. My voice is clear to all, Hare Krishna?
Yes, clear, Prabhu.
Yes. Thank you. Let me have a short kirtan. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Jayo Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jayo Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Yamunadira Yamunadira Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayo Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Canto 1, chapter 12, text 30. Saesha loke vikyada parikshiditi yat prabhu purvam drishtam anudhyayan pariksheda nare shiva. Translation. So his son would become famous in the world as Parikshit, examiner, because he would come to examine all human beings in his search after that personality whom he saw before his birth. Thus, he would come to constantly contemplate him. Purport. Mr. Prabhupada ki jai. Maharaj Parikshit, fortunate as he was, got the impression of the Lord even in the womb of his mother. And thus, his contemplation on the Lord was constantly with him. Once the impression of the transcendental form of the Lord is fixed in one's mind, one can never forget him in any circumstances. Child Parikshit, after coming out of the womb, was in the habit of examining everyone to see whether he was the same personality whom he first saw in the womb. But no one could be equal to or more attractive than the Lord. And therefore, he never accepted anyone. But the Lord was constantly with him by such examination. And thus, Maharaj Parikshit was always engaged in the devotional service of the Lord by remembrance. Srila Jiva Goswami remarks in this connection that every child, if given an expression of the Lord from his very childhood, certainly become a great devotee of the Lord. Like Maharaj Parikshit, one may not be as fortunate as Maharaj Parikshit to have the opportunity to see the Lord in the womb of his mother. But even if he is not so fortunate, he can be made so if the parents of the child desire him to be so. There is a practical example in my personal life in this connection. My father was a pure devotee of the Lord. And when I was only 4 or 5 years old, my father gave me a couple form of Radha and Krishna In a playful manner, I used to worship these deities along with my sister, and I used to imitate the performance of the neighboring temple of Radha Govinda. By constantly visiting this neighboring temple and copying the ceremonies in connection with my own deities of play, I developed a natural affinity for the Lord. My father used to observe all the ceremonies befitting my position. Later on, these activities were suspended due to my association in the schools and college, and I became completely out of practice. But in my youthful days, when I met my spiritual master, Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, again I revived my old habits, and the same playful deities became my worshipful deities in proper regulation. This was followed up until I left the family connection. And I am pleased that my generous father gave the first impression, which was developed later into regulative devotion service by his divine grace. Maharaj Prahlad also advised that such impression of a godly relation must be impregnate from the beginning of childhood. Otherwise, one may miss the opportunity of human form of life, which is very valuable, although it is temporary like others. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशधारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. So in this purport, in this sloka, it's mainly tells about how Parikshit Maharaj got the name Parikshit. Actually, Parikshit, the name, it's represented examiner, it's mentioned here. So we already discussed about how Parikshit was born in every chapters, previous chapter and all, previous verses and all. So when he was in the womb of Uttara and the Lord was protected, he given the darshan of darshan to the Parikshit Maharaj in the womb of Uttara. When Brahmastra was bow the arrow of Brahmastra to Uttara, the Lord was protected through the womb. And he saw the form of a Lord, beautiful darshan, Kaustuba Manimala, and the beautiful, attractive form. And when he saw the form in the womb, after his birth, whenever he see everyone, he saw as a Krishna, that same person is there or not. Because here it is mentioned in the purport, the impression of the Lord. The impression, when we got the impression of the Lord, even the womb of his mother, and the contemplation, once the impression of the transcendental form of the Lord is fixed on one's mind, one can never forget him in any circumstances. Once we see the form of the Lord directly, we will never forget the form. That is the main thing it's mentioned here. Parikshit Maharaj, once he see the form of the Lord in the womb, and every time he used to remember that same form when I was in the womb. That's why he used to remember every time that form, beautiful Krishna's form. Because Krishna is very attractive to all. So same, that form is a fixed means he will never forget it. We are seeing so many things in this material world, actually. But so many attractive movies and so many things we are seeing. But that imagination, that remembrance will go later on. It will carry for, if you see one movie, It will take 1 week to go that movies, imagination and story and whatever we are gathering in our mind. It will go later only. So the material things, that's movies and all, that much remembrance we are getting. So Krishna is more than Gandharva Kodi Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham. Krishna's form is like that only. So whatever the Krishna's beautiful form, once we see, it will carry for a long day. So that's why Parikshit Maharaj got a beautiful darshan. He used to carry him. So through the proper remembrance of Parikshit Maharaj of Krishna, later he came to the platform of Sravanam. He used to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Sukadeva Goswami. And he used to hear. That's why it's in translation, it's telling. So his son would become famous in the world as Parikshit. It's telling. Why he is famous? Because he used to remember the Lord. That's why he became very successful. So if you carry Krishna in our heart, if you remember Krishna in ourselves, so we will become more successful. But we cannot understand what is a successful. But Maharaj Parikshit is very successful. Why? Because he used to remember Krishna. Then only, that's why he can hear Srimad Bhagavatam. We got Srimad Bhagavatam to study, and same way, we are, it's mentioned here. And here the purport is mentioned. The child, in childhood itself, you should practice devotion service. And you want to create environment in spiritual way. So whenever a child is born, the child should see the spiritual environment. And only the child will grow as a devotee child. And here we have so many examples how the child how he became a spiritual environment. We can see the example of Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj in the womb of Kayadu. Narada Maharshi used to recite Srimad Bhagavatam in the womb. And mother was used to sleep. Kayadu used to sleep. And attention that Prahlad Maharaj used to listen Srimad Bhagavatam in the womb. He used to respond in the womb itself. Whatever Narada Maharshi used to tell, he used to respond. The sound is coming. Sound used to come like this. So in womb itself, Prahlad Maharaj used to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. After born, he became a great devotee. He used to do more devotion. He used to remember Krishna every time. He put into a difficult situation by father. He used to remember Krishna every time. Because in childhood itself, he is not in a childhood. In the womb itself, he got a spiritual environment. So that's why after born also, he used to remember Krishna every time. So whatever we in this childhood we are practicing, that's why before the class, I mentioned, I don't know, before the last month, I guess, I mentioned that 5 years to 8 years, it's a golden period. We should practice whatever the child is getting 5 years to 8 years, that will carry for the lifelong. He will take for lifelong. In Malayalam, there is one proverb is Chottaile Sheelam Chudalavare. What means Chotta means small child. Whatever childhood what we are practicing, Chudalavare means death. Childhood, what we are practicing devotion service, it will take for death also. That's why remembrance and everything is very, very important. So 5 years to 8 years, we want to give a proper spiritual environment to child. You should take to association of devotees and make him to chant at 6 or 7 years, make him to chant. And while chanting, we should chant in front of the child and give prasadam. If you're giving all this such a facility to the child, he will become a nice devotee in later period. And Prabhupada example also, here it's mentioned that Prabhupada, in his childhood, what he's doing, his father, Gaur Mohan De, used to do deity worship. Radha Govindji, he used to worship. Prabhupada in childhood, he used to go to father and see and observe. Father used to do Mangalarati. He's going and seeing the darshan of the Lord, Radha Govindji. And that environment, Prabhupada got is very spiritual environment. And what happened? he conducted a small Radayatra in his home only. A small Radayatra. He called all the neighbors, relatives, everyone he used to call and conducted a small Radayatra. Everyone used to come. And after what happened, the Gaurmanda used to practice devotion service. And his mother, Rajani Mataji, used to carry Prabhupada in his womb. And there is an astrologer used to come to Gaurmanda's house. And the astrologer used to say, this child, when you got this child, you will go to the foreign country and preach Krishna consciousness. Your child become a Krishna devotee. Because Gaur Mohan used to practice devotion. He's a pure devotee. In this purport also it's mentioned. If you are giving a proper such environment to a child, he will become a nice devotee in future days. And Prabhupada in between youth days, young age, in college days and school days, he used to stop for a short period. He used to stop his devotion service out of practice. It happens. And later, so, by the mercy of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, he used to revive his Krishna consciousness again. And practicing Krishna consciousness again, he became a great, not a great devotee. He's a founder of our International Society for Krishna Consciousness. He became. So this is how when we practice devotion service in childhood, how it is become a successful person. So what we are telling is, whatever environment we are creating to child will take for lifelong. Okay. And here, my personal example also, I can also give one personal example. My mother used to give Krishna consciousness. My mother is a great devotee. First came to Krishna consciousness, my mother only. And after later, I am observing my mother every time. He used to do offering to the Lord, chanting. And he used to go every Sunday, he used to go to satsang. And I was feeling, why is going and all everything? What is this? Anything special is there? Why? Because before coming to Krishna consciousness, my mother coming to Krishna consciousness, before her behavior was very changed. After coming to Krishna consciousness, her behavior is very much changed. He gave more love to me and my brother. And I was, she called once to center, ISKCON center in Kerala. So I was also attracted. So whatever the parents are doing, whatever parents are creating for us, the child used to observe that only. That's the main thing. And my brother, he recently, 6 years back, he got Krishna consciousness. Actually, he will not chant before 6 years before. He used not chant and all. He will take prasadam, whatever we are preparing our home. My mother used to prepare offer and he will take that only. And later, he got an incident. My brother got an incident. What happened? Worst incident he got. And what happened? In worst incident case, he got a Krishna consciousness. At the time, he can go to negative way. But in our family, we created environment as spiritual. I and my mother used to practice. That time, my brother also get an environment of spiritual environment. That's why he also taking that same spiritual environment, Krishna consciousness. If we are not in a Krishna consciousness, we are taking something else, business and also working profession, job work, and we are giving such environment. My brother will not take Krishna consciousness. He will become something else. I also became something else. So that's the main thing. And later, what happened? The magic is, my mother, my brother became devotee. Later, my father also used to chant 2 rounds. He used to chant now because he also got such an instant. And what happened? Actually, my wife and the children started chanting. Why I also want to chant. I can also chant now. So he got such a attitude to chant. He also chanted 2 rounds. I request everyone to pray to my father to chant at least 16 rounds. So I request everyone to chant him. Okay. So here what he's telling is, so you want to create an environment. So what we are practicing in the childhood, it will take for lifelong. So it's very, very important. And also through here the purport is mentioned that remembrance. Parikshit Maharaj used to remember Krishna every time. Hare Krishna. So Parikshit Maharaj used to remember Krishna. That's why here we also used to practice Krishna consciousness. What we are doing morning till evening, we are doing Mangalarti, chanting, everything. So we are also what you take remembrance only. So it will take for death also. Our test will come on death time only. Andakalecha mamekam smaranutva kalevaram. At the time of death, what we are remembering, that will come only next birth. So if there's so many, recently, so many Maharaj and senior devotees used to go to Goloka. And we can see the practical example of Srila Prabhupada also. While he was in the deathbed, he used to recite Srimad Bhagavatam. And also recently, our Gopalakrishna Goswami Maharaj, he used to, I seen one video of Gopalakrishna Goswami Maharaj. While he's in the deathbed, he used to do in a Manasika Arati. He was doing like this in his hand. So that's so he used to practice in childhood, it's a young age. That's why he caring for in deathbed also. He used to do that same Arati in Manasika form. So that's why we should also practice Krishna consciousness. Whatever we are practicing is not a silly thing. It's very, very important. So morning till early wake up in, and we are doing each and every activities. So we are doing devotion service and giving Srimad Bhagavatam class, chanting. Everything is very, very important. We should create in such an environment. We want to create such inclination, like spiritual. Then only we can carry for life now. And for that, we need a proper devotee association. So when everything should happen because of proper devotee association only. Through proper devotee association, we can able to do whatever devotion service very quickly. So we are not like a Parikshit Maharaj. We are not a spiritual. We have a devotee association. Every state and every countries, we have a bhakti centers. So we should go and take such a nice association. So it is very, very easy to practice devotion service. So every center, Sunday, we have programs. We should do such a nice devotion service. And morning we are chanting. Everything we are doing, it's very, very useful and it will take for lifelong. And another thing it's mentioned that here. So here last point is mentioned that otherwise one may, so Maharaj Prahlad also advised that such impression of a godly relation. Maharaj Prahlad also advised that such impression of a godly relation must be impregnated from the beginning of childhood. Otherwise, one may miss the opportunity of human form of life. Here it's mentioned that in a childhood itself, we are not taking devotion service. One may miss the opportunity. We are only creating such opportunity when the child is not a devotee. If a child is not a devotee, it's a problem of his father and mother only. Because they didn't give proper chance to do devotion service. And also he didn't give a proper spiritual environment also. That's the main thing it's mentioned. One may miss the opportunity of the human form of life. I also used to see my cousin's home and all. So what they do, my cousin is there. I was in a 12th, I am studying 12th. I used to observe my cousin, what he is doing. That time I am using button phone. Whenever I go to his home, he used to take my mobile and playing that snake and snake ladder, something plays, the video game he used to play. Because the father and mother is not a Krishna consciousness, he was used to go to temple and he will do such a materialist activity. And what happened, his child also become while I am going to his home, he will take my phone and we used to play. Because father is a businessman, he used to do business activities in the phone, calling and everything. So that environment created for that person is a mobile and business environment only. That's why the child also became same to that only. Now he's a pious guy only. He become he was associating with me. every time he used to ask me doubt. So that's why he got little of a one round. He is also chanting now. I also request to that my cousin also used to chant more rounds. So likewise, it's mentioned. So what I'm telling you is, whatever we are practicing in childhood, it will take for lifelong, and you should practice in the childhood itself. And whatever, so we can have so many examples of Prabhupada and our previous acharyas, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, his father, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, also give a proper, nice devotional environment to his son, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, Goswami Maharaj. And also we got a nice Guru Parampara, likewise it's mentioned here. And more about is that so it's mainly the main thing is the main part, but the main theme, what our main understanding from this is this much only. So if you have any queries or doubts, we can welcome. I'm concluding my words. Hare Krishna.